wide receivers, we've seen a few guys break out this week. So here's a few guys on the waiver wire you should take a look at and try to pick up heading into the playoffs here. In Week 14, the first guy's Keke Coutee. What a fill-in he was for Will Fuller. It's like they never missed a beat with that Houston offense. 9 targets, 8 catches, 141s for Coutee. He looks like he's a better route runner than he was last season. Watson relying on him. He looked good. Like I said, 9 targets. And to get 141 yards in his first start of the season, very impressive. Randall Cobb, he's out at least till Week 14 or 15 with the injury. So it's only Coutee over there. Obviously, Brandon Cooks, who got shooken up in this ball game with concussion-like symptoms, but he came back. And then another guy I'm going to get to later in the list to tell you to pick up. But anyway, Coutee, he's a starter, like I said. He's out there 74% of leagues, and he's a guy you can't pass up this week. So if you didn't get him last week, this is your second and probably final chance to get him before he's owned in about 65-70% of fantasy leagues after the week. He's in a good offense. He's going to be a starter. He's got a great quarterback. And next week, his matchup's pretty good as well as Coutee. So he's a guy I would target first heading into Week 14. The second guy is T.Y. Hilton of the Indianapolis Colts. It's nice to see Hilton now with back-to-back good ball games. And I'll be honest, he's a guy I gave up on Week 7 or 8 where I said to drop him. But Hilton, another huge game today. 25 fantasy points, 8 catches, 110 yards, and a touchdown with 11 targets. I know Hilton, he always destroys the Houston Texans. And once again, he did that today. But him and Phillip Rivers now, over the last few weeks, they're starting to get a rapport and get a connection and get things rolling down the field for this Colt team. And another win for the Colts. They got 8 wins on the year. And next week, he's got a good matchup again as Hilton at Vegas. So he's a guy I would target. He's a guy I could add. And he's a guy I could possibly start heading into Week 14. The third wide receiver I'm looking to target is Chad Hansen, the other Houston Texan receiver. This guy was a practice squad guy, but with all the injuries at receiver and the Fuller suspension, Hansen, he stepped up with a big ball game as well. 7 targets, 5 catches, 101 yards. This guy, 15 fantasy points. He's available in 100% of leagues. This guy's probably more of a deep league ad, but he's a guy to definitely keep an eye on. And next week, like I said, Houston, they got Chicago. Chicago's not bad on D, but I think these Houston receivers, they could get open and make plays. So keep an eye out on Hansen. So he's the third guy I'm going to get on waivers. The fourth guy is Rashod Higgins of the Cleveland Browns. It was nice to see Higgins and People Jones break out in this game, but I'm going for Higgins in this one. 6 catches, 95 yards, and a touchdown on 9 targets. Higgins, we've seen flashes over the last few years, and we've seen it a couple times this season where he would have a big fantasy game. So a nice 21-point game. He's available in 92% of fantasy leagues. I know they got a tough matchup versus Baltimore next week, but if you need a receiver or whatever, Higgins, he's not a bad guy to target on the wire. Next receiver to add on waivers this week is Tim Patrick of the Denver Broncos. Patrick, he had a good ball game last night versus the Kansas City Chiefs, and he had 2 touchdowns. He looked good. He looked healthy for once. And Patrick, he's available in 79% of fantasy leagues is Patrick. So he's a guy, the Broncos, they're going to be down in a lot of games. And he's had a couple breakout games earlier in the season. But it was good to see him in this one go for 4 catches, 44 yards, and 2 touchdowns for 20 fantasy points. The Broncos coming up now, they got a decent matchup versus the Carolina Panthers. So Patrick, I think he could do some damage in that game next week. And now he's available in 79% of leagues. So go out there and try to get Patrick. And the final receiver I'm going to look to add on waivers this week is Gabriel Davis of the Buffalo Bills. Another good game for Davis. I mentioned him on this list last week in the waiver video, and he had 3 catches for 68 yards and a touchdown. John Brown, he's on IR at least another game or 2 here for the Bills. So Davis is getting targets, he's getting looks, and he's a guy you easily could add this week going into Week 14 and the playoffs. He's available in 95% of leagues. He's a big target, another impressive rookie in this impressive rookie draft class that came out this season. So get the Gabriel Davis. And that's a few wide receivers I'm looking at on waivers here heading into week 14.